Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is your host, Kushalmehra. All right. So, I had mentioned that Abhijit is also going to join us, but he just gave me a call. He has some internet issues, but he'll try to join us a little bit later. But as you know, today's podcast is about the latest or the forever going conflict between Israel and Iran. And I have Catherine with me. Catherine, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me again.
Well, first of all, let's lay out what is the basis of the current conflict. From what I've understood now, there are 180 missiles that were launched against Israel by
Yeah,
Iran. And can we start by explaining the entire incident in detail so that everybody knows what exactly had happened, so that we don't miss out any of the details? So we'll
sure.
start from what has happened.
So, how far do you want me to go back? Do you want me to go back like October 7th, or just kind of the
I think
reason
we can
why?
start from October 7th so that we know the context from October 7th, because we just, today is it's October 9th right now. So I think it's only fair that we start from last year, October 7th, and what has happened since then, so that people get a context.
Sure. So, on October 7th of last year, 2023, Hamas, which is a proxy of the Islamic Republic of Iran, decided to break into Israel and to commit atrocities that haven't been witnessed since the Holocaust, the Shoah. They massacred thousands of people and took over 1,000 civilians prisoner into the tunnels of Gaza. And so, as in retaliation, which I think is actually quite fair to say in self defense, Israel decided to launch an operation that sought, one, the destruction of Hamas to prevent any other atrocities from being committed on Israel's soil, and also to secure the return of the hostages. Now, unfortunately, we still have about 120 hostages currently held in the tunnels of Gaza, including a baby. So that's something that unfortunately the Western press has been quite keen on not talking about, is the fact that there's a 1-year-old baby that is being held in Gaza. He has spent more times in Gaza than he has spent amongst his family. So that's something to mull over. So Israel's operation in Gaza that lasted for now a year, just about, um, led other proxies of Iran to join in what they call resistance fight against the really bad white colonizer that is Israel. And of course, I'm being very sarcastic here. And so Hezbollah decided on October 8th, way before Israel even put a foot into Gaza, to retaliate. We're not quite sure against what, because Israel had done nothing by way of retaliation. But Hezbollah took it upon itself to answer the call of Hamas and to try to replicate what Hamas had done. And so it started raining rockets onto northern Israel. It share a border with Israel from the north. And then the Islamic Republic of Iran decided to kind of join the fight and to call for the annihilation of the big bad Zionist. And so did the Houthis, again, another proxy of Iran in Yemen, who decided to rain missiles and whatever else they decided to rain on the Red Sea, and attempted to fire at Israel directly, which they unfortunately succeeded at. Again, to support the cause of Hamas, which is the liberation of Palestine um, and Gaza. Now, the argument does not hold, because, of course, Gaza is not under occupation, even though people would like to say that it is, but it is not. In 2005, Israel completely withdrew from Gaza, and so to say that there's an occupation is literally it's a fallacy, it's a lie, a blatant lie. So Israel for a year has been engaged in trying to defend its borders from the attempt of some of the ISGC and Hezbollah militants in Syria, and from Hezbollah in Lebanon, and from the Houthis in Yemen, and from Hamas in Gaza. And so we have fought for, when I say we, because I'm not Israeli, but I'm a Jew. And so I consider, I mean, whatever happens to Israel matters to me. And so I include myself in this big we. We try to defend ourselves quite frankly, and we want to see return our people. We want them back home where they belong. But the world has decided to condemn us, and apparently we are the attacking force. What we're doing is unjust and unfair, and it's apparently we're committing acts of genocide in Palestine, in Gaza. What is quite strange is that the population of Gaza, which is 1.2 million people, has not really diminished since our operation. So we're committing the worst case of genocide in recorded history, where there's no dip in demographics. So we're really bad at this. But apparently we are. And so the story goes. Um, and the most recent attack from the Islamic Republic of Iran came by way of the IDF actually eliminating Nasrallah, Hassan Nasrallah, who was up until recently the head of Hezbollah. And so he was eliminated alongside several IRGC commanders and Hamas leaders and other militants from Hezbollah. And so the Islamic Republic took offense because, of course, Hezbollah is a mirror image of the IRGC. And quite frankly, the regime in Iran cannot survive without Hezbollah. And so Iran decided to intervene and fired at Israel hundreds and hundreds of missiles. Fortunately, they did not land, and I think that one did, but did in the desert, and so there was no casualties. Now, I know that they claim that they, eliminated a military base, that they did this, they did that. It was a great victory against Israel. It's not true. There's no proof to that. Israel has been very open, and I would say more than open, actually. They've been very clear about what has been done. They've been showing everything and publishing all the data, and there's been many journalists who were able to confirm everything that Israel has been saying. But the regime in Iran seems to think that it was a great victory. It wasn't. They failed because we have a very good air defense system, thank God. But it doesn't stop them from attempting to do more, to threaten from doing more. But they haven't done too much, because doing too much would mean engaging with the IDF directly, which they don't want to do because they know what happens when they do. Hezbollah paid the price. Hamas is paying the price still. And so here we are. And the IDF and Mossad actually warned the Islamic Republic of Iran that hell was coming. And they said that it's soon. They didn't say exactly when, but they said that when it happens, the Middle East will be a very different place. So let's wait and see.
So what exactly I mean, is the complaint for Iran? Like for Iran, it's about fine, but why would they launch missiles at a time where Israel is already in a conflict with two other border nations right now? Or this was just Iran's way of saying that we have to do something and we have to show that we've done something, so we'll just do this and now we're done with it. What is the Iranian calculation behind this?
I don't think they're calculating, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of fear right now, and what they're doing is reacting. But I mean, you have to take it from, I would say, like a PR kind of standpoint, in that they have their proxies engaged in long war now. I mean, it's been a year, and for them, it's a long time, because they're a military group. They're not a real military. And for them to be, engaged, you have Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. And for Iran to do nothing, which so far it has done, which is nothing. To hide behind its proxy systematically, when the head of Hezbollah was assassinated, murdered. I don't care what you want to call it, eliminated. But the world is a better place for it. So I'm not going to apologize for his death. It was welcomed. He was a terrorist. And many people have died. The head of Hamas. I mean, we eliminated literally, all the commanders from the from Hezbollah, from Hamas as well. It's completely diminished. I don't think it's capable of functioning properly, not anymore. I'm not saying that they don't have support in Gaza or even the West Bank, but their ranks were decimated. So was Hezbollah, and so Iran is standing there, calling for the annihilation of the state of Israel, but not committing anything other than words. And so I think that they felt they had to do something that would, appear to be some kind of a reaction, or at least putting, their mouth where the money is, and to say, well, look, we're doing something, we engage, and we have joined the fight in support of the resistance, the so-called resistance. That's why they've done it, but they can't do anything, because to attack Israel by the air, and I think that Hamas and Hezbollah have already demonstrated that you can't. You could cause some damages for sure. The north has been evacuated because of the constant rockets. But it doesn't mean that you can actually breach Israel anymore. Hamas done it on October 7th, but I think that it's Israel now has consolidated its position, and so it's perfectly capable of preventing any other attempt breach into the territory, and Iran doesn't share a border with Israel, so it's very difficult for them to do anything other than grandstand, which they have done. But I think also Khamenei is terrified at the idea that with Hamas is gone, Hezbollah is gone, and the fact that the IDF managed to locate Nasrallah and eliminate him and others. I mean, anyone who came after him and who attempted for a few hours anyway to take the mantle was eliminated. And they have. I mean, the survival rate is about 4 hours now, and so nobody wants to be the next Nasrallah. And I think that Khamenei understands now that he's next. And the IDF made very clear that yes, he's next. The regime needs to go because the regime is the source of Israel's, pain and suffering, and the fact that our borders are not safe because of the regime, and also the fact that millions of Iranians continue to be under occupation by this regime, and it needs to go. And because the West doesn't want to do anything by way of helping and enabling Israel, all they're capable of doing right now is to complain and to hide behind empty words, human rights and whatever. Okay, fine. The fact that the United Nations is involved in aiding and abating terrorism. Several Hamas leaders were actually employed, until they were eliminated by the IDF, by UNRWA, which is the UN agencies. And still, you have the UN saying that UNRWA is absolutely essential. Well, and irreplaceable. Well, if you hire Hamas terrorists, I'm going to say that, your existence should no longer be. But apparently they have different views. It's all about aid. It's all about humanitarian aid. Well, again, if Hamas is rewriting this aid, I don't know who you're helping, but it's not Palestinians. You're not helping anybody other than maintaining them in a state of dependency, and forcing them to acquiesce to what Hamas has to say and forcing them to do. So I don't think it's fair, but Israel is taking this fight on its own and will continue to do so. It's just sad. It's sad that the world is hiding behind Israel's men and women to take on a fight that the world should take on, quite frankly. And I'm disappointed in the West, disappointed by the rise in anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, but not surprised, fortunately. It's just they're many, and I did not expect them to be so many, but here we are. And so Iran is trying to do what it knows best, which is to talk, but not do nothing. I mean, they don't do much other than terrorize their own people and torture people. But we knew that. We knew that from the beginning. But here we are.
So I want to talk about the geopolitics and the internal politics too. But before that, what do you think is going to be the Israeli response now that Iran has done what it has to do? Now, do you think the Iranian calculation must be we had to show something, so let me do this base level missile attack where 180 of them are hurled at Israel. It didn't hit anywhere. We can just lie that we did this and show false bravado. And I think one of them landed in Palestinian territory and in fact ended up damaging them, right? That's what something of
Yeah,
that sort
it
had
killed
happened.
someone. It killed someone. A Palestinian man was killed. But on that nobody talked about. So it's quite interesting to see how Palestinian lives are only worth talking about and complaining about when they are being eliminated by the IDF, whether or not the terrorists. So it doesn't even matter. But they don't see lives as important unless they're being killed by an IDF soldier. So again,
So
it
so
just tells you exactly where the West sits. But
so like something that has always fascinated me is that how does Saudi Arabia look at all of this? Because Saudi Arabia and Iran really don't like each other. Now
no, I
Saudi
don't.
Arabia has to do the face saving condemnation of Israel. But really, do you think Saudi must be sad that Israel is really going to go after Iran, or what is the Israeli strategy here? Like, uh,
Well,
I mean, how many fronts can Israel open as far as realistically from a
well,
war perspective?
as many as we need to. I mean, quite frankly, and also I mean, there's many things that haven't been rolled out, by way of military capacity. So the world needs to be careful not to poke too much. But look, Israel will do whatever it has to do to defend itself. For us, it's a matter of survival. So it's not like we could say, our strategy is to survive and hopefully to thrive. And thrive we will do eventually. We've done it, for 5,000 years. I don't think that one regime in Iran will stop us from doing so. But the point is, like, if you look at Saudi Arabia, and I think that's a great question, because no one is talking about it. Now, I want you to think about the fact that, there's two main, I would say, owners of Lebanon. And I know that Lebanese will not like me saying owners, but you have to admit that their sovereignty has been breached a long, long time ago, and that they don't really have a say in what happens in the country, which I think is a shame. And I hope that that will change. But essentially, you have two powers competing for influence in Lebanon, and you have Saudi Arabia, of course. I think that the story with one certain Hariri being forced to do certain things that he didn't want to do, and the fact that his assets were frozen by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman tells you exactly just how much pull Saudi Arabia has in Lebanon. And of course, the Islamic Republic of Iran by way of Hezbollah. Now, if you noticed, so far, Saudi Arabia has said nothing really by way of condemning Israel's intervention in Lebanon. That very recently, several countries, including Saudi Arabia, have issued a statement saying that it would be now forbidden for the flag of Hamas or the Palestinian anything to be mentioned at mosque across their countries, which is not siding with Israel, but I think it's doing a great way by way of shutting down the narrative that is being pushed by the Islamic Republic of Iran that is against Israel. So again, a step in the right direction. Now, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, and others have not intervened in condemning Israel's intervention in Lebanon. And that tells you that if they don't condemn, they actually support it quietly. Now, think about it. If Hezbollah is taken out of Lebanon, it's the gift for the Saudis, because then they could return to moving the country closer to their alliance and away from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I mean a step closer to normalization with Israel. Now, Lebanese Christians, for example, and Druze and other minorities, religious minorities in Lebanon, have came in support of Israel. Now, that hasn't been shut down by the government. Again, Saudi Arabia has the great sway over those minorities. And so it tells you, I would say by proxy, that Saudi Arabia is actually supporting Israel. And with Saudi Arabia, I would say, to some extent, the Sunni Muslim world. You also have, things that have been said, I would say that haven't been said in the press, in the Arab media. That tells you, again, that there is a move that is telling you that, again, this region of the world is moving closer to Israel, understanding that there's an issue. The Iranian diaspora is very much on board. And recently, the speech by the Crown Prince Reza Shah against the Islamic Republic and his call for a revolution within the countries were actually welcomed by Arab capitals. Again, it tells you it may be not in favor of Israel, but the Crown Prince sits with Israel in alliance with. He promised to sign the Abraham Accord and to revive what he calls the Cyrus Accords. So if Saudi Arabia and the likes are supporting the Crown Prince and his return, well, it's not a stretch to say that, by association, they're supporting Israel. And I think it's wonderful news. We're moving towards, what Prime Minister Netanyahu talked about at Congress, which is this Abrahamic alliance. And why not? I mean, why do Jews and Arabs need to be, forever at war with each other when there's nothing other than, the lies of a few that made it so? We are natural allies rather than enemies. And I would like the world to change. And if indeed this Abrahamic alliance was to take shape, the world would be better.
I understand that, but how does Saudi Arabia manage the pressures of the Muslim Ummah then? How do they manage that? Because they clearly have a problem with Iran, is because Saudi Arabia wants to be the leader of the Muslim Ummah, and their biggest challenger in this case seems to be Iran. So how?
Exactly. But look, all you need to do is an exercise in, de-radicalization. That's really what, and it starts with education. So the fact that Saudi Arabia, made it law that mentioning Palestine or Hamas or anything related to, really, at mosque across the country, and making sure that the flag of Hamas or Palestine is not raised in Mecca, for example, as a means to politicize, a faith, is a great step towards normalization. Because of course you can't just shut down people through and say, well, now you're going to love Israel. No, it's not about loving Israel. It's about not seeking its annihilation. People seem to think that it's like either you hate Israel or you have to love it. No, I'm just saying consider Israel like any sovereign nation, in the world, one you could engage with and maybe criticize, or maybe, build a relationship with. You don't have to love Israel. All you have to do is try not to kill Jews. I mean, I don't think it's a great stretch. It's not that complicated. It's not difficult. It's just respect a sovereign nation and engage according to international law. And if there's something that matters or something that you're not happy with, just engage diplomatically. But don't resort to annihilation and genocide to just make a point, because what point would that be? That you a genocidal maniac? That you enjoy killing people and burning babies alive? Is that a point to make? Because I don't think so. So I think we're moving towards, I would say, a more reasonable and rational conversation in the Muslim world. And again, Israel is in the Quran. There's several passages that actually, reference the fact that, according to them, God said that, whoever harms Israel harms me. So again, read the book. Read the book. If your book, says to protect the Israelites, I mean, we are literally the Israelites. So what does it say about what you're doing? If you're going against your book, again, I'm not the one who wrote it. So, they wish to, if they wish to believe or not. Again, if you believe, then you have to believe what is written in the book, and what you're doing, it goes against what is written. So just pick a side. Hopefully, pick the side of humanity. And life is sacred. So don't take it. Don't take it just willy nilly. It's not. It's not a good look. It doesn't make you a good person. So I think that Saudi Arabia is going to get a great deal. Again, it's going to be slow. You have to try to remap decades of radicalization. It doesn't happen in a day. But I think that preventing people from, using religion to politicize a conflict, and to propagate hate and to teach kids hate, it's a good way to start. So we'll see. It's going to. I think it's going to take a good generation. But
So, so what do you think is now going to be the response from the Israeli side to Iran? It's just been a few days.
it's
So,
going
what
to
do
be
you
hell.
think?
Hell. Because look, it's this is the thing. So Khamenei, when Khamenei decided, and I mean authorized, the missile attack on Israel, I think Khamenei expected Israel to play by the rules. In that, for the past decade, Israel has always tried to mitigate its reaction with the international community and trying to manage its PR and trying to make sure that we would not upset, our so-called allies and partners in the West. And by that I mean Washington, Paris, London, whatever. I think it's been clear over the past year that our allies are not. We don't have friends in the White House. I mean, they're not in yet. We don't have friends in London. Whoever we had, they left. I think that the Prime Minister made clear that he's not on the side of Israel, and he may try to justify, which is fine. I mean, he's allowed. He's the Prime Minister. He was elected. Fair enough. You run the policies you feel are best, but he's clearly not on the side of Israel. I don't think that President Macron has done a great deal to help the Israelis either, or even his own Jewish community. And so Israel broke away. And Israel is doing what it needs to do. Israel doesn't care anymore about, what people think, or what the world will allow Israel to do in order to defend itself. We have lost way too many people. We have kids in Gaza. I mean, we had women who are suffering. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to. I don't even want to imagine what they're suffering, but they are. And the point is, no one has done anything by way of helping us to get them back. I mean, what they want is a ceasefire. Okay, a ceasefire against a bunch of terrorists. I'm sorry, but that's not a solution. To cower to terrorism and say, that's going to make you safer. How? Please tell me how. When has negotiating with terrorism ever helped any nation, country, people, community ever? In our history, try never. And so why asking us to literally bow to the likes of Hamas and say, "Oh, please give our people back"? Of course, they won't. They won't do it. We know that. The only way we're going to get them back is by exerting strength. And you could see it. You could see that whenever we actually do something that is not allowed, but who cares? Last time I checked, Israel is a sovereign nation. We don't need the permission of the world to defend ourselves. We have a duty to our people. And so we're doing what we feel is necessary. And the world could judge later. In the meantime, we're trying to get our people back. You can complain later. If you're not happy, that's fine. But if they're home, quite frankly, I don't care. And so now Khamenei has miscalculated in that Israel is not playing by the rules of the game anymore. And so Israel will respond in a way that it hasn't before. And when you have the IDF and the likes of Shin Bet to come out and to say that the world would not look the same after we're done with you, pay attention. pay attention, because I think that what happened with Hezbollah, what happened to Nasrallah and the pagers, even though we didn't do it, or so they say. Yeah, I would pay attention. I would you literally be put on notice. And I don't know what's going to happen. I have imagination and I can think of a few things. Um, but I think it's going to be interesting. And so what? I mean, I welcome it, because whatever it is that Israel will rain on Iran is deserved. The Iranians are themselves calling for it. I mean, they've said the first shot is on you, the last one will be on us, because they are begging for someone, anyone, to do something against this regime that has oppressed them for decades and decades. They don't. They want to breathe free. They want freedom. And if that goes by, by way of Israel doing something, I welcome it. Because millions of people are at stake. And I'm just done. I'm done hearing horrible stories about, women being taken to Evin prison, or people being murdered just because they think differently from what Khamenei would like them to think. I'm sick of a world that is standing by terrorism and Islamism and doing nothing but grandstanding at the United Nations, saying peace is what we are looking for. That's what we're working for. Well, you're not doing anything to work towards peace. And for me, capitulation is not working towards peace. Unfortunately, and World War II has proven this. You need to answer with strength when terrorists are threatening your borders. So that's where we are, and I'm just very disappointed in people still now trying to rationalize terrorism and saying that we could negotiate with them. No, not at all.
So I want to talk about the Western world and the way they're looking at it. Now, as far as the Biden administration is concerned, I think Biden has still got a soft spot for Israel. So he's actually maintained some sort of a position as far as Israel is concerned. But if we look at the neighbors of America, that is Canada, Justin Trudeau government, the foreign minister Melanie Jolie, even refused to condemn uh, the the hateful comments on the streets of Canada that are uttered on a daily basis. When in fact, on the it was during the session of the parliament where the leader of opposition Pierre Poilievre actually asked Melanie Joly to condemn it, and she basically downright refused to do that. And at least as far as my coverage of Canada is concerned, almost every weekend there is some rally where Islamists and Hamas supporters and Hezbollah supporters that are openly, wearing keffiyehs, and they're shouting slogans like, there were even slogans like "Death to Canada," "Death to Israel." Let me find that out and play it for you in
Oh, they're
Canada.
everywhere. It's everywhere. It's just so, it's in London, it's in America, it's everywhere. And I don't understand. I really, for the life of me, I don't understand how you have students in Colombia, calling for death to America, or even over the weekend in New York.
Yeah,
I think
so
that
let me play this for you. I had bookmarked this too. I had even bookmarked this. Um this is the video. So here we go.
Death to Canada! Death to the United States! And death to Israel!
I mean,
They're burning the Canadian flag. Damaging property. I don't understand what's the point of all of this. I have never understood the point of all of
it's
this.
look. Here's the thing. I mean, I understand free speech. I mean, look, people are free to say whatever, stupidity they want to say. Fine. Um, but what they're doing is actually they're calling for hate, and they're demonstrating it by damaging, by breaking the law and damaging property and doing other things. You want to burn a flag and make yourself look like an idiot, fine, whatever. But the fact that students, what bothers me is that, number one, have you noticed how they're hiding their faces? I mean, if you're so proud of what you're saying, just don't hide. That's number one. Number two, for students to feel that it's okay to say those things and not understand the consequences behind those words. I mean, clearly you like an education, a real one. Because I mean, what do you want? So do you want to bow, take a knee, to Islamists? Do they even understand what that means? Because you have those queer for Palestine and you have the whatever. Look, do you understand that those rights, your very existence, depends on your ability for our democracy to remain liberal, and for people to be free to do whatever they want to do and to take whatever label and to just exist. Because look, as long as it's consensual, as long as you're not breaking the law, who cares? It's fine. I mean, be happy, whatever. I support you. But for you to be literally calling for the very party and people and their ideology that seek you dead, I mean, unless you have a death wish and you're suicidal, then why? Why is it that your hatred of the Jews and Israel is so great that it's preventing you from seeing that you are supporting the very people that tomorrow will want you dead? That my existence as a Jew protects you, because right now they're too busy hating me and hating, the state of Israel. It protects you from the death that will come to you once I'm gone. And this is something that I cannot comprehend. How can they say that they're so tolerant, that they're fighting for minorities to have the rights that they deserve, but to be so blinded, before the regime's desire to annihilate an entire community? We represent such a minority, in the world population, is like 0. something. What do you want with us? What do you want? You want us gone, and you think the world will be better once we're gone? Because I got news for you. In terms of ingenuity and medical breakthrough and whatever else, we sit pretty high on this pyramid. So if you want us gone, fine, but you're going to be sitting with what? Because the world will not be a better place without us, and because the world will not be a better place without with the disappearance of any community. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not that we're special. Is that the world is better because we have multiculturalism, because we are so many and we look so different. Because it would be so boring to be staring at the same faces over and over again. It would be so boring if there was only one way to be, and one, school of thought, and one religion. I mean, I don't want to live in a world that looks like, me. I want to see diversity. I want to confront ideas with people who don't look like me, who don't think like me, who don't eat like me, or pray like me, or do anything like me. Because then maybe I will have the opportunity to step in their shoes and to experience the world from their perspective, and to learn something about life, about culture, and to become a better person, maybe. I hope so. But, to try to have this weird cultural Marxism and to align everyone and paint them with the same color, God, I don't want it. It's boring. It's oppressive. It's just everything that I stand against. And I don't understand why, students, university students, what are you doing? What kind of life do you want for yourself if you are willing to step in the shoes of a terrorist who, by the way, are oppressing minorities, murdering and sexually abusing women, and indoctrinating children and using them as meat for the cannon, and forcing little girls to get married to 50-year-olds something, pedophilia and child marriages? Is that what you want for your kids? Because that's what you're working towards, and I don't get it. I don't even know what words to say to these people, what logic to use to tell them, have you lost your mind? Because clearly they have. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't perform an exorcism. I don't know what to do. So if you have an answer, please share. Because I'm literally like, at the end of my rope thinking, who are you? Are you even a human being? Because I don't get it. It's unnatural. It's unnatural to be okay with kids, getting married to like 50 years old. It's not okay. But apparently they do it. So, hey ho.
What bothers me in all of this is that the normalization of actual hatred in the West. It's very scary, and it's not just with the Islamists. I'm not going to make this podcast about Khalistan, and I assure people, but it's just the same. It's like, why does the Hindu community understand what's happening? Is because on the streets of Canada right now there are two absolutely batshit crazy groups that spew hatred like nobody else's business. Like this video, I think I'm sure, for people to get a context, the population of Canada as of now is approximately 40 million. Out of that, 300,000 to 400,000 are Jews. That's it. 300 to 400,000. That is the actual population of Jews in Canada. The amount of pressure and intimidation the Jewish community of Canada faces on the streets. Like, I saw this video. I don't even know where the hell this video is from. This is so scary. They're singing songs about murder and rape now. Just what is this?
Égalité avec la Palestine.
I think this is Canada. This is disgusting. I don't care what culture, what country you're from, but if you can't even have the basic dignity and decency of giving human rights and basic decency to people. Listen, I've been very consistent as far as the Israel-Palestine conflict is concerned. Am I biased towards Israel? Yes, I am biased towards Israel, but I feel bad for the Palestinian children. I've always maintained that. In fact, I was the one who called Shadi Hamid. I reached out to Shadi again. He didn't reply to me. Not my problem. But I've consistently tried to reach out to Palestinian points of view too. They don't.
Look,
I mean,
I get it.
crazy.
I get it. And it's to your credit. It's to your credit. But look, I'm going to say this because people think that I hate Palestinians. No, I don't. I want them to have a state. Look, I've written something in the Jewish news syndicate about Hamas and what life looks like under Hamas. And I did not mention the word Israel because it wasn't about Israel. It was about talking about Palestinian rights. And I want them to have a state. I want them to have to reach emancipation. I want them to be free to exist within their land and to experience democracy and have human rights. But will I tolerate, Hamas to run the show? No, because Hamas wants me dead and wants my people dead and wants the state I love very much, to not be anymore. And I'm not going to tolerate this. And this is not, I don't know why it's so difficult for people to understand. We're not white colonizers. You need to meet my daughter to understand that, really. We're not white. We are not, we're not occupying any land. This is our land. It's been our land for 5,000 years. And if people want to argue that Palestinians are also, native to the land and indigenous to the land, fine. But then, if you look at history and you look at the, if you take a timestamp, then so are we, because we were there before. But I'm willing to share. I'm willing to give, fine, I will give you the stages. Stop killing us. It's not that hard. And then we'll talk. But we can't, peace, yes, but not at the cost of our land or our people. Peace, but not if peace means raping and maiming and pillaging. I'm sorry, but no. And I don't think that any community or nation should be asked to do that. It's not peace at whatever cost. It's peace with, an equal partner across the table. Am I going to be speaking to genocidal maniacs? No. Get an exorcism. Then I'll talk. But until then, I'm sorry. And I think that if the Indian community understands more than most what we're facing is because Hindus have faced, a terrible fate at the hand of Islamists. You understand. And I don't see anyone asking India to just give it up for the sake of, or the Islamist wants to feel, recognized and cherished. Well, I'm sorry, but no, because why should Hindus pay the price? For Western liberal, democracies, like kind of, weird sense of justice. I'm sorry, but justice doesn't mean capitulation. Peace doesn't mean abiding by the rules of terror. So people need to wake up. And, for those who support us, I'm grateful because it's not your fight and yet you joined. And so thank you. For those who want us dead, well, we're coming for you. So, hold on to your horses. It won't be too long now. That's all I got to say.
And you're right, because as far as the Iranian community and its support for Israel is concerned, actually, I've seen this very much in the open here in Canada, where the Iranian community openly comes and supports Israel. Openly. They are very much opposed to the regime. They join almost every Jewish protest. There are, anti-regime Iranians all over Canada. They keep talking about it. And I don't understand what the hell this unique combination is of Western politicians pandering to all sorts of things. Like, I want to play this clip for you from the Canadian Foreign Minister, Melanie Joly, to understand. I think their brains have short-circuited. This is the Foreign Minister of Canada. See, I'm just using Canada as an example is because I tend to follow Canadian and Indian politics very closely. That's kind of my thing now. I follow both politics. Just listen to this person. Like, listen to the Canadian Foreign Minister, what she's saying.
Now, when it comes to the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre himself, let me be clear. What we saw yesterday was the height of our hypocrisy. Clearly, Poilievre is doing one thing and saying one thing, and he's doing another. I'll give you 3 examples. First, while he's saying that he's fighting anti-Semitism, he never condemned those who were waving a Nazi flag during the Freedom Convoy on this Parliament Hill. Why didn't he? Second, he cozies up to groups like Diagolon, who spread neo-fascist ideology across this country. Why doesn't he denounce their anti-Semitism as well? And also, when his caucus met with far-right politicians from Germany that were downplaying Hitler's crimes, he kept them in his caucus, and they're still
She's lost
sitting
it.
next to him in the House of Commons. So clearly, what we're seeing is that Pierre Poilievre is about double standards, and
He's broken her. That one speech on the floor of the parliament where Pierre Poilievre actually questioned the foreign minister, she's gone bonkers. This woman has gone bonkers because he's done none of it. And I'm not even freaking Canadian, and I know this has happened. He's done none of it.
Look. To give you another example, it's just, and it's not the same exactly, but it's just to show you that we live in the parallel. That I think they exist in a parallel universe where you have Antonio Guterres, the UN, the great United Nations, that literally came out. I think it was just today on a statement for X, where he was basically saying that UNRWA, that has basically admitted, by the way, this is not coming from me. UNRWA has admitted hiring Hamas militants, but saying, oops, we didn't know. And also they want immunity now because they could be sued, of course, by the families of the victims. They were saying that UNRWA is a necessity. What do you mean? How is that a necessity if we just established that, it's aiding and abetting terrorism? And it falls within the same kind of logic where they just live in a universe where apparently truth and data doesn't matter. They're making up stuff just to fit their worldview. And the rest of the world has to go and, put on the same glasses, take the same pill and just follow. And I don't understand it, but it's okay. It's okay. That's, they want to live in a world that they get to write. It's fantastic. I mean, I think it's great to live in a fantasy. Unfortunately, their decisions are impacting the real world. So I'd just like to end, the whatever drug taking they involved with, but it's just not working.
But I just don't understand it. Why is this vote? Look, it is clear that it is vote bank politics. It is vote bank politics. It's the world has changed. We are no longer pandering to the individual as a vote. We are pandering to groups as a vote. It's as clear as that, Catherine. Everybody knows what's happening. So the left is convinced that the Muslims vote as a group for them. So they're just pandering to Muslims. That's all they're doing.
But you just said the key word is not even Muslim. The key word is left.
Yeah.
There's, when I keep talking about cultural Marxism, look, you need to understand, and this is not even coming out of Russia, okay? Because Russia is not left. There's a clear desire by, certain actors, and I don't know who they are exactly, because, there's I feel like, the real decision makers are always hiding in the shadows. And this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, it's clearly, we can see this in action. There's clearly a battle, I would say, of ideologies here, and it's a battle, I would say, for our freedom with a capital F. And I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. Israel is not even. It's not the real battle. Is that they are coming for our freedom, and some people are so willing to just give it up, for the sake of this, slogan, for the sake of being relevant. Look, there's an entire demographic, and I call them the woke parade, that are so desperate to get, a sense of immediate gratification. They're pandering to those, narrative that just give them immediately a sense of grandeur, and they feel like, oh, I'm on the right side of history. Look at me. I have so many clicks on social media, whatever. I get so many views. I'm a big person. To give them a sense of accomplishment, that they are actually doing something by way of furthering the human rights, for example, or the cause of freedom and liberty. When actually what they're doing is, being stuck in their mother's basement, doing nothing else but just typing on a keyboard. They're not doing research. They're not actually getting an education. They're not trying to, confront their ideas against that of others. They're not doing anything. That's not work. You're trying to grandstand, on a horse that just has one leg. It's going to collapse, and you're an idiot. But they don't understand that by doing so, by being caught in this cycle of, I want to be grand, I want to make money and be famous, whatever that means, they're actually giving themselves away. You know, what the most precious thing that they have, which is their freedom, the ability to think free, they are willing to just give it up. And you have countries like Qatar that are only too happy to oblige. They want to lock people in. Do you know this battle that we had? I mean, when we tried to eradicate slavery a few centuries ago, people thought that it was long gone. By the way, Qatar still, exercise, slavery. So, for those people so keen to be on the side of Al Jazeera and Qatar, just, research it for 2 seconds. It doesn't take long. It's on Google. It's been reinvented. So now slavery comes by way of individuals selling themselves away. For if you click on Instagram and X or Facebook or Meta, whatever it's called now, it's not the case where you have, those master slave, the slave masters, selling people on the market. Is that people are willing, literally walking themselves to the market and saying, hey, I'm here. How much am I worth? That's what we're seeing. It's like the abdication of the self. And in a crazy, twisted way, they think they are actually furthering the self, that they are freeing people from what? You keep putting labels on people, thinking like, oh, I'm so tolerant. Stop labeling people. People are not labels. They're not things. Also people can change their minds. Let them. So, but if you stick a label and say, and I respect you, what about you don't put a label and you respect that person? Because let them tell you who they are. Don't stick anything on my head. Go away. I'm not a label. But this is the world we live in today, and people have been lied to and fooled, and people are not educated enough. And I think that our education system has a lot to answer to, because what we're creating is a generation of people who are very good at parroting things, but they haven't internalized anything. I mean, what is it like? How do they? If you tell a student, oh, tell me about freedom and human rights, okay, they will be able to, to quote, this and that. But have they internalized it? Do they understand what that means in their own words? Have they thought about what it costs to stay free, or what they would be willing to do in order to stay free? What this freedom means for them? What does it mean in terms of, in enacting it in everyday's life? Does it mean, do they want freedom for everyone or just themselves? There's many things that they haven't thought about because they haven't been taught. They've been taught to repeat things. Repeating things is not knowing. But and I think that it has a lot to do with a lot of the things that we're facing today, where people, if it's a trend, I'm pretty sure that if tomorrow it would be very trendy to say that Jews are the greatest thinkers in the world, they would be saying that too. If it means a few clicks on X, I promise you they would be saying that too. And that's not even true, but they would be saying it anyway. If tomorrow I would say cats can talk, and it becomes a trend, if Qatar is pushing that, they would say that too, without thinking it. Because it's trendy, so let's go on that. Let's jump on that wagon and let's go. But I don't know. I'm at a loss as well because I don't understand, and I consider myself like moderately educated, and I don't speak stupid, and I feel like I'm talking to stupid right now. So not to you, obviously. I'm talking to the rest of the world.
No, but talking about.
Oh my God. She's hating on you. She's hating on him. I'm not.
Talking about stupid. How does one figure out, like, all these protests? There are queers for Palestine. You can't even be queer in Palestine. Like, what am I missing?
I know.
What am I missing?
They run away to Israel in order to be, what they want to be. And good for you. Look, I'm glad that you look. I'm a tolerant person. I really am. I just don't like terrorists. People can be whatever they want to be. I don't care. Again, my only demand, okay, and that's not negotiable, is that it's consensual and that you don't break the law. That's it. And if you do those things, that you don't break the law and you make sure that the other party is actually, consent, then be whatever you want to be. I do not care. I frankly don't. But to have queer for Palestine, I don't get it. Do you get the part where they will throw you from the highest building, or that they would kill you, flog you, do whatever the heck they're going to do to you? And they have done so. Why aren't you standing up for your community? Because you are condemning them by relaying the message of Hamas. You are actually making sure that people like you cannot survive under Hamas. I don't get it. I mean, what is going on between your ears that you can't understand the fact that you're not allowed to be you in Gaza under Hamas. It's not that hard. Try being you in the Islamic Republic of Iran. You will last for 2 seconds. I mean, queer for what? Are you for real right now? You want to say queer for Israel 100% because Israel is a safe haven for people like you. And so it should be. It's not even to say that Israel is great. No, Israel is doing the bare minimum by offering, a place for people to exist freely and safe from harm. And I think it's just like the basic, like 101 of what a state owes to its people. But in Gaza, impossible. The West Bank, dream on. The Islamic Republic of Iran, please. I'm laughing. In Yemen, try. I dare you, go try. See how long you last with your T-shirt. Not long. So I don't understand for the life of me, why are you condemning yourself? To what? Are you suicidal? I don't get it. You hate the Jews? Okay, fine, hate us, but don't like them. Do you understand that there's an ocean between hating the Jews, which is people's prerogative. Don't like us. We're used to it. I don't care. But hating, like supporting terrorism? Where did you get the part that if I hate Israel, I must support terrorism? What about you hate Israel without supporting terrorism? That would be fun. What about we try that one? That I can do. And you can hate on us until the end of time. I don't care. We don't need your opinion. Your permission to exist. I'm breathing. Thank you. And I will continue to do so, until it's my time to not do so. But not because you're preventing me from it. I don't care about your, I don't need your permission. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you. I don't need anything. I just am. So let me be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even 2 days since October 7th, and then you see photos like this. Happy October 7th day and stuff like that. I just don't understand. Like, I'm showing all of these things so that, and for the audio listeners, this is a handle called Palestine CULTU1, titled Palestine Culture, and basically they have fireworks and they say happy October 7th day. It's disgusting. I don't care. Like, I would not celebrate the death of the children in Gaza. It's disgusting. I would not celebrate that. That's just not the right thing to do. I don't know what's wrong with people.
Of war. They are victims of war. I mean, unfortunately, wars are nasty, and death is inevitable, and they are casualties of war. I mean, we haven't yet invented a way to fight war without killing innocent civilians, and it pains me. And I feel bad because those people suffer, and I don't want them to, and they don't deserve it. But at the same time, what else are we to do? But there's something that would like. I mean, it's not so much a question to you, but maybe something that people could just kind of like think over. Is that how do you reconcile, Palestinians in Gaza, where you have mothers, for example, saying that, for them, the greatest gift, or they are willing to sacrifice their children to the cause, to jihad, and for their kids to die martyrs. Then my question is this, and it's going to sound very insensitive, but I'm following their own logic. Then why do you cry when they do? Why do you cry when they die? If that's what you want, if what you're looking for is martyrdom, then why do you complain when it happens if you call for it? And also, why do you have to sacrifice your kids? If you love this cause so much, why don't you walk into it yourself? Why do you have to condemn your kids to death? That's a question that I just cannot understand. As the mother, you would be hard pressed, for me to sacrifice my kids to any cause. I will walk there myself. I'm not sacrificing my kids. They are, first of all, they are their own people. They get to choose. I don't choose for them. And certainly not when it comes to dying for a cause. But if there is danger, you could be sure that I will take that bullet for them. There is no way that I'm surviving my children. Not if I can help it. So why are they so quick in doing that? I just wanted to understand. And yet they cry on TV when it happens. And yet we're committing acts of genocide. I thought you wanted to. Which one is it? I want to understand the logic. And no one is asking them. Why? Why is it such a grand idea to sacrifice your kids? What is wrong with you? It's unnatural. Even animals don't do it. You don't see cats, sacrificing the kids. What they do is that you have the mom who's doing everything she can to protect her babies, because that's how it works. You protect the young because, they have their whole life ahead of them. You did that already. So, tough luck. You're a parent now. You protect. So why are they always talking about sacrificing their children? I want to see you walk that line. Why do you put your kid in the middle of it? So I don't know. I don't know if you have an answer to this one, but I just can't understand it. And no one is challenging them. And I know what I'm saying sounds horrible. Because, of course, I'm not saying that they should or that they shouldn't or that the death of a child is not a tragedy. But when a parent is saying in front of a camera that this is the epitome of the expression of their piety, then why do you cry? Why do you cry if that's what you wanted in the first place? You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, it's mind-numbingly confusing to me. Let me ask you a question that a
Mm.
viewer has asked. It's like, it is a perception that Israel is an expansionist force as it promotes settlements in disputed areas. What is your answer to that? Can Israel coexist with Lebanon and Gaza, as people there do support these terror outfits? Is there any way forward?
Yes. Okay. So the way forward is this. I mean, you can see yourself. It was on social media quite a lot, where Lebanese Christians, the Druze, that actually have a really big community in Israel. Are quite happy. With Israel, they supported the death of Nasrallah. They encouraged Israel and sent their congratulations, saying that they stood with Israel. So I think that it's fair to say that many communities across the Middle East are quite happy to cohabitate and to make space for Israel in terms of diplomatic relations and signing those Abraham Accords. Now, in terms of can we have peace with Lebanon and Gaza as long as Hamas and Hezbollah are around, the answer is no, which is why the IDF is working really hard to destroy them and to make sure that it's so costly to become one terrorist that they don't try again. And I think we're successful because nobody wants to run Hezbollah anymore. So I think we made a point. They heard us, and great, because you can't kill ideas, but you can make it costly to abide by those ideas. So this is what we had to do. Now, do we want to expand? No, but something, and I don't want to get into the whole, the settlement, because it's a very complicated issue. What I'm going to say is this: there is no agreed borders between the West Bank and Israel, and so it's not illegal. I'm not saying it's legal, but it's one of those areas where it's a complicated issue. Now you need to remember that the West Bank, the real name of the West Bank is Judea and Samaria, and we get our names from actually Jews never call themselves Jews. We call ourselves the Israelites.
Hmm.
It was others who called us Jews because we come from Judea. So it's very complicated to tell a Jew that Judea is not ours. But I'm not going to get into the subject of whether it's ours, not ours. That will be settled by politicians and state officials. And if that means that we have to give up Judea and Samaria in order to have peace with Palestinians, I'm not against it. I want a Palestinian state, whatever that's going to look like. I don't know. But, we're not expansionists in the sense that we want more territory. No, we want what is ours, and we want to create a buffer zone. At least that's what we had to do so far in order to protect ourselves from terrorism, because see what happens when we don't. And I give you October 7th. And so you can't blame, the world cannot blame us for trying to protect ourselves. Now, have settlers sometimes, gone above and beyond what they should have done and broke the law? Yes, they have. I'm the first one to admit it. I think that many things should have been handled very differently. I don't want to see civilians get hurt. I do not want to see people expropriated. I do not want to see land taken away from people, or at least not being done so in a very clear kind of legal way. I disagree. I don't think it's a great idea. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's leading to a lot of bad things. But it is happening, unfortunately. But no, we're not expansionists. We're not colonizers. We haven't colonized anyone. Judaism actually is against that. It's never been a thing in the history of Israel, and I'm going back, thousands and thousands of years. Israel has never conquered other land. So if I go back by history, I would say that we're actually the opposite of a colonial state. Also, we've never played into slavery, which is something that very few people can say. It's not, we don't legislate over slavery. Others do. I'm not going to say who, but Qatar does like it very much. They do it. They like slavery very much. No one talks about it. All the human rights lovers, they don't challenge Qatar on this. I want to know why. Is it because Qatar has a lot of money to give away? What is it? What is it that we can't talk about? Qatar and Al Jazeera. My question. But yeah. So I hope that answers it. But look, I'm not going to apologize for Israel, doing bad things. It happens. It's a state. Mistakes are being made. Am I going to stand by it? No. But I'm not an expert on that particularly, so I can't, beyond what I said, I can't really speak.
Fair enough. Now, just one last question on Iran, and then I want to ask you to explain. We believe in Israel too, but so, like, how does the world brace itself for this Israel versus Iran conflict now? Because at the end of the day, a lot of geopolitical how do I say? A lot of geopolitical problems rise from Israel and Iran conflict. Oil prices, for one,
Well,
that is something a lot of people are going to be talking about.
well, look,
Iran has a very important role in the Asian area. So as far as its location, as far as the port is concerned, and many other things. So, what do you think is going to be happening as far as Israel is concerned now?
look, I want to talk about the oil prices for a second because I first of all, oil prices have gone up in America. Okay, I want to know why, because America is actually self-sufficient. So why? This is my question. Like, why is that why is that a problem for you?
Because the current administration does not believe in generating oil by itself in America and Canada both.
Well, okay, but that's another problem. But I mean, technically speaking, they're self-sufficient, so they should not have that problem. Also, I believe that when oil deals are being negotiated, they're being negotiated at a fixed price that fluctuates. I mean, there's a limit on how much it can fluctuate up or down. So a lot of it is a lie. Okay, they can hold on for the next at least a year. So if prices go up, it's being architected that way to become the burden of the people at the end of that kind of consumer line. But that's another subject. But whatever. But the question is this: okay, so are we just kind of refusing to face the fact that at some point somebody's going to have to deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran? That would people have the same issue if Iranians decided tomorrow morning to wage war against the regime and actually bring it down? Because that would mean too that oil prices would go up, because you would have a lot of uncertainties. Can we really just stand by and say, oh, let's abide by the status quo for the sake of oil prices? No. And also remember that the world would be a much better place once the regime is gone. So the sooner the better. And also, if it's coordinated in such a way that it doesn't take as long as a revolution would, because revolutions are nasty, take time. I think it's better if Israel takes care of it, and actually it's done in a constructive way, I would say in an orderly fashion, at least as much as possible. And then we can reopen the valve and just say, well, now it's oil for everybody. At least the oil is sanctioned in Iran. So why are people crying? The only people who should care about it are actually is China. I remind everyone that buying oil from Iran is legal so far, except for those countries who don't abide by the sanction, which is fine. I mean, they don't have to. But so it won't change much. And once once Iran is free, then that means that the oil will flow, so it will be better for everybody. So it's a bit of it's like suffering now for a little while until things are better for a very long time, hopefully. So I think that the argument to do nothing is just moot. Sorry. So we'll see now what that will look like. I think again, the IDF said it. I mean, it was the defense minister who came out the other day to say that the Middle East will witness something he has never witnessed before. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. But Israel has done a few incredible things, historical things lately. I mean, no, actually not the pagers and the phone or whatever else they've done. It wasn't us. So at least they haven't claimed it. So I don't know. But the IDF is capable of performing not miracles, because we're not godly, but they're quite impressive. So let's see. I don't know what they're going to do. But if I was to make a guess, I would say that the nuclear facilities will be targeted, and that Khamenei will be targeted too and eliminated, because they don't miss. So we'll see.
Well, so before we wrap up, can you tell everybody about We Believe in Israel and how you're involved with it? Because your Twitter bio says that, but I want you to talk about it so that others know about We Believe in Israel.
I am involved because I'm the executive director, so I'm ever so slightly involved. And I was appointed about 4 months ago now, and it's been a privilege for me. I mean, it's the most incredible organization, and I'm not saying this because I run it, but it is true. It's a great organization, and we basically stand for Israel's right to exist and to self-defend, and we're trying to recenter the conversation on data and facts, as opposed to peddling to anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And we believe that Israel has a right to be and to exist in the region, and to defend its borders as any other sovereign state ought to do, and that we want to create I would say, an ecosystem within which people can debate things and have, I would say, reasonable discourse, to be able to confront, to kind of hold different views and still not kill each other at the end of it. That would be an interesting format. And we want to build strong bridges with other diasporas and communities, the Indian community being one of them, the Iranian diaspora. We want to, we talking to a lot of Christian organizations. We're willing to talk to anybody, by the way, on the basis that they believe like us that Israel has a right to be, and we want to find ways to make new friendships, to understand one another, to help one another, and to consolidate our position. In that we don't pretend to hold the truth. That if we need to change our mind on things, then we will do so. And we want to do so with our partners, and to make sure that we make good friends, and that our friends tell us when we mess up, and we will do the same with them. It's that simple. And on this matter, we actually have published a book to mark October 7th. So it's a commemoration book. So it's not geopolitics. It's more to do with a bit of a roundup of Jewish history and the many things that we have to face over the centuries. And I wanted to honor the victims of October 7th. And they were not all Jews. They were not all Israelis. There were many people that were killed for nothing, just because some people somewhere decided to hate and to take lives because they felt that they could. And I just wanted to make sure that their name got written down, so that they could be honored in a proper way. And it's available on Amazon. And all you need to do is to literally search October 7th commemoration book, and it's called We Will Dance Again, because we will. So it's available on hard copy, or also on Kindle. So I hope that people will read it. If anything, for me, it's not so much what you can gain from reading the book, it's what it means for the people who lost their lives to be honored in a way that their names will be read out, hopefully across the four corners of the world, and so that their memories will remain, that they won't be forgotten, because it's just that they didn't have to die. They really didn't have to die for the lunacy of a man that just wears a turban that is just so tightly tied around his head that the oxygen can't go through. It just pains me to think that they've died for that. It's just
Yes.
ridiculous.
So far, the ones in India, this is the book, October 7th commemoration book, We Will Dance Again. For folks in India, I think this is available in a Kindle edition. So everybody, if you guys want to buy it in India, this is it. I'm going to copy the link and put it in the live chat right now for all of you. So if you guys want to buy it on Amazon India, you can buy it on Amazon India. So this is the link, and as you see over there, go buy the book and support Catherine's work. You can follow Catherine on X too. I've left Catherine's X handle in the description of the podcast too, so you can follow. I'll leave the link to the book also in the description of the podcast. So if you guys want to buy it there, you can even click it in the description, and it's very easy. You just click the link on Amazon and you can order the book, and it's there in the description of the podcast. But Catherine, it's a pleasure to talk to you as always, and wish you all the best and more power to you.
You too, the same. I'm always very impressed with you. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm so glad that we're friends. And I'm very thankful for your friendship, because you've always been there supporting. So thank you. Lots of love to everyone listening and supporting us. Even if you don't buy my book, I want to hold you. I want to hold it against you. But truly, like, I'm so thankful for India and Indians have showed us so much love. I'm so very grateful for you guys. So continue, but we pay attention, we notice, and we love you right back. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know it's been a wonderful time for me. I think as far as the Jewish community and the Hindu community coming together, especially in the last 2-3 years, has been a very welcoming sign for me, because these are two old civilizations, and as they say, game appreciates game. Only ancient civilizations understand each other's pains, understand what it is to stand amongst diversity and stand amongst adversity when you are under pressure. So I'm glad that this happened. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, in the description of the podcast, you will find Catherine's X handle and the link to Catherine's latest book. Go follow her on X and buy her book. Yeah, the Kindle version is available in India. I think on Amazon UK and other Western portals, the hard copy is also available. But in India, we have the Kindle version available. And as far as I'm concerned, the Cārvāka podcast is a member-driven podcast. So if you want to keep supporting me and keep letting me work with absolute freedom, do consider joining the membership of the Cārvāka podcast, whether it's on YouTube or on Patreon. If you want to buy Cārvāka podcast merchandise, you can go to kushalmehra.com/shop or on Kadak Merch. Both portals will show you the merchandise. If you want to send donations directly in India, you can use UPI, and kushalmehra at ICICI is the UPI ID. In Canada, it's Interact, and the email ID is kushalmehra81@gmail.com. If you can't do any of that, just like this video, subscribe to the Cārvāka podcast YouTube channel, leave a rating on your preferred audio channel if you're an audio listener. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, namaste, take care.